she whispered. Why are you here again? I smiled. Because I can't stop thinking about you. Her voice met me before her eyes did. Low, steady, a question wrapped in a breath. Why are you here again? I almost laughed, but my mouth wouldn't work. All I could manage was a small, uneven smile. Because I can't stop thinking about you. The cafe was nearly empty, just the hum of the espresso machine and the faint scrape of a spoon against porcelain somewhere behind us. She stood by the window, coat draped over one arm, fingers pressing against her temple as if a headache had been following her all day. She wasn't supposed to be here. Neither was I. I moved closer, enough to see the thin line of light running along her cheekbone. Her hair, darker near the roots, streaked with silver at the edges, caught the afternoon sun like fine wire. She didn't step back, but she didn't step toward me either. You shouldn't say things like that, she murmured, looking past me to the street. Then maybe I shouldn't think them, I said. Her lips parted, just slightly. She didn't answer. The silence between us wasn't empty. It carried every word we'd left unsaid. I noticed her hand trembling as she set her cup down. When my fingers brushed hers by accident, or not, she flinched, then stayed. The skin of her knuckles was cool against my palm. You're too young, she said finally, still staring outside. I swallowed. Maybe, but you keep talking to me. That made her glance at me. A quick, almost sharp glance, then softer. Her eyes were gray with a fleck of something lighter near the center. I couldn't stop watching them. The heater hissed along the wall. She shifted, folding her coat tighter, and the scent of her perfume, cedar, maybe a hint of orange, caught me off guard. It felt like stepping into a room you've dreamed about, but never entered. You think you know what you want, she said quietly. But you don't. Maybe not, I admitted. But I know how I feel when I see you. Her laugh was small, disbelieving. She rubbed her thumb over her own wrist, an absent gesture that looked like she was erasing something. I should go, she said. I leaned closer, not touching, just close enough for her to feel my breath. Then why haven't you? She blinked at me. The corner of her mouth twitched, as if she might smile, but didn't. My heart beat hard enough to drown the cafe's hum. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. She traced the rim of her empty cup. I noticed the pale indentation on her ring finger where a band had once been. She noticed me noticing and quickly slipped her hand into her coat pocket. Outside, the wind picked up. A napkin skittered across the floor between us. She bent to pick it up, and when she straightened, our faces were inches apart. Her breath smelled faintly of black coffee. You need to leave, she whispered. I can't, I said. Before she could respond, the door at the back of the cafe swung open with a heavy clatter. Someone called her name, a man's voice, older, uncertain. She froze, eyes still on mine. Her lips parted, but no sound came out. The man's voice calling her name faded back into the clatter of dishes. She didn't move. Her eyes stayed on mine, a flicker of panic crossing her face before she smoothed it away. He's no one, she said softly, though I hadn't asked. Just a colleague. I nodded, though something in her tone carried weight. She exhaled and turned back toward the window, fingers gripping the sill like an anchor. I shouldn't have let you stay, she murmured. You didn't, I said. I just did. Her shoulders rose and fell. In the glass, her reflection looked younger, softer, but when she turned, the lines returned around her mouth, faint but there. I've done this before, she said suddenly. Let someone in. Watched it go wrong. I stayed quiet. She gave a brittle laugh. You're what, 24? 26. That's still. She stopped herself. You don't understand what people will think. What I'll think later. I wanted to tell her she was wrong, but the words wouldn't come. Instead, I watched the way her thumb rubbed circles into the wood, absent, self-soothing. I've been alone a long time, she said after a moment. Married, then not. Friends drift away, work fills the space. It gets quiet. I try not to stare at the pale mark on her ring finger again. I know what quiet feels like, I said. Her head tilted. Do you? I hesitated. My dad left when I was a kid. Mom worked nights. Most of the time it was just me. You learn to fill silence with thoughts you shouldn't have. That made her look at me differently. Not pity, but a kind of pause. The cafe had emptied completely. The lights above us buzzed faintly, a low hum. She turned slightly toward me. Her sleeve brushed my hand. The fabric was soft, and the touch lingered longer than it should have. You watch me, she said, almost accusing. I swallowed. I try not to. Doesn't look like it. But her voice had softened. She moved a little closer, enough that I caught the warmth of her body. She smelled of rain now, maybe the coat. I should be smarter than this, she whispered. Then be smarter tomorrow, I said before I could stop myself. Her breath caught, just audibly. We stood there, neither moving, until finally she reached out and laid her hand on my shoulder. Not a hug, not a claim, just her palm, steady, warm. For a second, she closed her eyes, like she was letting herself feel it. Then she stepped back, fingers trailing off my sleeve, leaving a faint tremor where her touch had been. The cafe door rattled again, wind sweeping in, but she didn't look away this time. Tomorrow, she murmured, not a promise, not a refusal. And then she walked past me, slow enough that her hand brushed mine once more, as if by mistake, before disappearing into the cold. Rain slicked the street outside, washing the neon signs into blurred streaks. She stood under the awning, coat clutched tight. I joined her, shaking water from my hair. You shouldn't have come, she said, but her voice didn't match her words. You texted me, I reminded her. She stopped, glancing at her phone like it had betrayed her. I wasn't thinking. We stood shoulder to shoulder, the city pressing around us. The smell of wet pavement, car exhaust, and her perfume mixed into something that made my chest feel tight. Inside the restaurant window, two of her co-workers laughed over wine. One of them turned briefly, scanning the street, and she pressed herself closer to the wall. They can't see us together, she whispered. Then let's move, I said. But neither of us moved. She slipped her phone into her bag, fingers brushing mine. You're making this harder. I tried to laugh, but it came out rough. You're the one who keeps showing up. Her eyes flicked to my mouth, then away. A car horn startled her. She stepped closer, nearly against me now. The air between us held heat like a live wire. We can't, she began, but the words fell away. I could see the small tremor in her jaw, the way her breath hitched as she tried to compose herself. Drops of rain clung to her lashes. Inside, one of her colleagues raised a glass. She ducked her head. If they find out. They won't, I said, though I wasn't sure. She looked at me then, really looked. You don't understand what this could cost me. Her voice cracked on the last word. I reached for her hand, stopped halfway, let it fall back to my side. Silence stretched, filled only by the hiss of passing tires. She shivered. You should go first. But when I stepped back, she caught my sleeve, holding me there. The grip was small, desperate. I don't want to do this, she murmured. What? Pretend I don't want to. Her eyes darted to the restaurant again. The friend at the window was looking down at a menu now. We shouldn't, she whispered. I know. Still, she didn't let go of my sleeve. Rain dripped from the awning, pattering against the ground. Between us, we leaned in slightly, as if drawn by some small gravity. Her breath brushed my cheek, warm and unsteady. My hand rose to her arm, just above the elbow, feeling the tremor beneath her coat. For a moment, everything blurred. The noise, the light, the risk. Our faces were inches apart. She closed her eyes. Stop me, she whispered. I can't, I said. Inside, her friend laughed again, loud and sharp. We both startled, pulling apart just enough to look. The window steamed over, hiding us from view. Her fingers slid from my sleeve into my palm, lacing once, quick, before she stepped back, heart hammering. We didn't kiss, but we stayed there, hands still touching, pretending not to. Her apartment smelled faintly of rain and warm paper. Books stacked in uneven towers, a half-finished glass of red wine on the counter. She hadn't planned for me to be there. I could tell by the way she kept smoothing her hair, tucking a stray lock behind her ear only for it to fall again. You shouldn't have followed me, she said, not looking at me. You left without saying anything, I answered. She set her keys down, metal clinking against ceramic. Because I was trying to do the right thing. I stepped closer, slow. And is this the wrong thing? She turned then, eyes searching mine, tired but bright. Everything about this is wrong, she said, but her voice was soft, almost breaking. People at work suspect already. My sister asked about you. I'm losing sleep. You're? She stopped, hands trembling as she gripped the back of a chair. I'm what? Too young. Too easy to want. The room went very still. Outside, rain ticked against the balcony railing like a clock. I think about you all the time, I said quietly. Even when I try not to. Her laugh was short, shaky. You think that makes this better? No, I said. It makes it real. She closed her eyes. Stop saying things like that. I reached out, brushed the damp strand of hair from her cheek. My fingers lingered at her temple, a pulse beneath my thumb. She didn't pull away. You're shaking, I whispered. I'm terrified, she admitted. Of me, of what I'll do if you stay. She drew a breath, but it caught halfway. I could feel the warmth radiating off her even before she leaned forward, forehead resting briefly against my chest, a gesture that felt both surrender and plea. My hands hovered at her waist, not daring to hold her. I've ruined enough already, she murmured. I tilted her chin up with 2 fingers. Her lips parted, but no sound came out. We were so close I could see the small freckle at the corner of her mouth, the way her lashes clung together from the rain. I'm not here to ruin you, I said. My voice sounded lower, rougher than I expected. You don't know how this ends, she whispered. Then show me. Her breath hitched, brushing my jaw. We hovered there, heartbeats colliding, neither moving forward nor back. My hand slid down to her shoulder, her fingers fisting in my shirt. You should leave, she said, but it came out like a plea to stay. I leaned just enough that our noses nearly touched. Tell me you don't want me here, I said. Her eyes met mine, wide, wet, unguarded. She didn't answer. At that moment, her phone buzzed on the counter, loud in the quiet. She flinched but didn't step back. The screen lit her face, unread message glowing. We both stood frozen, our mouths inches apart, her breath trembling against my lips, and the decision still unmade. The phone on the counter buzzed again, screen lighting the room with a pale glow. She hesitated, then reached for it. Her hand shook. I caught a glimpse of the name before she tilted it away, Mark. She pressed decline, then dropped the phone onto the counter like it was hot. I should have told you, she said quietly. I didn't move. Told me what? That I'm not free. Her voice cracked on the last word. Separated, yes. But not divorced. Not really. My stomach tightened. You told me. I told you what I want. Ed to be true. She turned her back, bracing both palms on the countertop. Her shoulders trembled once, then stilled. He's been calling again. He suspects. If he finds out about you. Her words splintered. The hum of the refrigerator filled the silence. I stepped forward but stopped just behind her. Why are you telling me this now? Because you deserve the truth, she whispered. And because I keep thinking about your hands on me even when he calls. She pressed her forehead to the cabinet door. It's wrong. The air between us felt heavier than before. She straightened, wiping at her eyes. When she turned, I saw guilt and hunger warring across her face. You could still leave, she said. Walk out that door, and I'll never. I reached past her to close the cupboard door she was leaning against. My hand brushed her hip. She inhaled sharply, eyes flicking to mine. You're not the only one lying, I said. My voice came out low. She blinked. What? I didn't just run into you at that cafe. I swallowed. I knew you went there. I watched you a few times before I spoke. Her mouth parted. You watched me. I couldn't stop, I said. I told myself it was harmless. But it wasn't. The distance between us felt electric. She stepped back until her spine touched the counter, as though she needed something solid. Her hands gripped the edge, knuckles white. That should scare me, she murmured, but she didn't look away. It does scare me, I admitted. And I still can't walk out. She let out a small sound, half laugh, half gasp. You're making everything worse. Or honest, I said. Her eyes glistened. She pushed past me toward the balcony door, brushing my arm as she went. The touch was accidental, but heat flared under my skin. She opened the door to the night air, rain still falling, and stood there, framed in cold light. I don't know what we're doing, she said. I stepped behind her, close enough that my breath stirred the damp strands of her hair. Then decide. I whispered. Tell me to go, and I'll go. She didn't turn. Instead, she reached back, fingers finding mine and holding, hard. The rain blew in around us, cool and sharp, while her hand and mine stayed warm. A choice made, or maybe a point of no return. Rain misted through the open balcony door, soft and cold against my face. She still hadn't turned around. Her fingers stayed laced with mine, trembling. You should go, she whispered, but her grip tightened instead of loosening. I don't want to, I said. The city lights blurred in the wet glass of her sliding door, scattering gold and blue over her skin. She finally turned, slow, like she was afraid of what she'd see. Her eyes were red-rimmed, but steady. "I can't keep living like this," she said. "Half a life, half a lie. I don't even know who I am around you. You're the only one who's felt real to me," I said, my voice low. She let out a breath, shuddering. "Stop saying things that make me want you." I stepped closer. "Then stop pulling me back every time I try to leave." Her back hit the frame of the balcony door. We were inches apart now. She reached up, almost without thinking, brushing a rain-damp lock of hair from my forehead. Her fingers lingered at my temple, then drifted down the side of my face. "I hate how young you are," she murmured. "I hate how afraid you are," I murmured back. Her laugh was a small, broken sound. She rested her forehead against mine, eyes closing. The scent of rain and wine and her skin filled my lungs. Our breaths mingled, short and unsteady. "I have a husband who still calls," she whispered. "People at work who will judge me. A life built on rules I never question. And then you." "I'm not asking you to leave your life," I said. "I'm asking you to choose what's honest right now." She opened her eyes, looking at me like she'd never seen me before. "And what if choosing you ruins us both?" "Then at least it's real," I said. Her hand slid to the back of my neck, holding me there. For a heartbeat, we didn't move, a trembling standoff of want and fear. "I can't stop thinking about you," she said at last, echoing my first words to her. "It's ruining me." I swallowed. "Then stop fighting it." The rain shifted, heavier now, spattering against the floor inside. She drew in a sharp breath, like the sound had snapped something inside her. Her fingers curled in my shirt. I felt my own hands rise to her waist, no more hesitation. For a second we hovered. Inches, heartbeats, the line still unbroken. Then she pressed her forehead harder against mine, eyes squeezed shut. "If we do this," she whispered, "we don't hide anymore. No lies. No pretending." "I won't pretend," I said. She opened her eyes. Whatever answer she needed was already there. Outside, thunder rolled, low and deep. She exhaled, trembling, and this time she didn't step back. The rain had stopped sometime before dawn. Her apartment was quiet now, except for the faint tick of pipes and the slow drip from the balcony railing. The night's tension had drained out of the room like water down a sink, leaving only a heavy stillness. She sat cross-legged on the couch, wrapped in a blanket, hair damp and uncombed. I sat at the other end, elbows on my knees, staring at the carpet. We'd said everything, almost nothing. Finally, she broke the silence. "You stayed," she said softly. "You didn't tell me to go," I said. She smiled faintly at that, a tired smile, but real. I was afraid I'd regret it. I shifted closer, slow enough that she could move away. She didn't. When my knee brushed hers under the blanket, she drew in a shaky breath, but didn't pull back. "I don't know what happens next," she admitted. "Neither do I," I said. "But I'm not here to hide." Her eyes met mine, no panic this time, no mask. "People will talk," she murmured. "They already do," I said. "We'll give them something true to talk about." She laughed under her breath, a small sound but warm. She reached out, fingers grazing my wrist, then curling around it, thumb brushing the vein like she was feeling the pulse. "I'm scared," she whispered. "Me too," I said. "But I'm still here." For a moment she studied our hands, then slid closer until her shoulder rested against my chest. I pulled the blanket around both of us. Her hair smelled faintly of rain and cedar, her body warm and solid against mine. "I thought I'd forgotten how to want anything," she said quietly. I touched my forehead to hers. "You didn't forget. You just stopped believing you could." Her eyes closed. She tilted her head, and I pressed a slow kiss to her forehead. Not a claim, not a secret, just a steady promise. She sighed against me, the sound like a door opening somewhere inside her. We sat like that a long time, her hand laced in mine, the morning light creeping across the floor. Nothing felt fixed, but something had settled, a choice made, a weight lifted. She whispered, "We'll figure it out?" I nodded. "We'll figure it out." Outside, a bus hissed to a stop, brakes squealing, then rolled on. Inside, she leaned fully into me, and I wrapped an arm around her, both of us staring at the pale square of sky beyond the balcony. It wasn't a perfect ending. It was a beginning that felt like ours. Did you enjoy the story? What kind of stories would you like to hear next?